Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm Jean Shafiroff, your host. This show is designed to highlight the work of philanthropic leaders here in the United States and then beyond. Today with us, the topic fashion. And with us is Maryanne Grisz. Maryanne is the CEO and president of Fashion Group International. Let's all welcome Maryanne Grisz. And Maryanne, it is a great pleasure to have you on Successful Philanthropy. And I want to start first by asking you exactly what does Fashion Group International do?
Hi, Jean. Thank you so much for having me. Fashion Group International is an organization of professionals, global professionals, that was started in 1928 by 17 women who banded together to support one another in the industry. And at the time, they were underrepresented as women. So some of our founders and charter members are Eleanor Roosevelt, Helena Rubinstein, Carmel Snow, who was a global editor of Harper's Bazaar. And they wanted to work together across all industries to support each other. And from there, we now have 26 regions globally of professionals in the industry of fashion and related industries. We provide resources as a mission, and we are a gateway to professionals for professional development, for a forum for discussion, archival research, events, and industry conversations.
Very interesting. Now, you started as a group of women. Is it still the case, just a group of women, or have you expanded? I see that you certainly expanded, but I want our audience to hear from you.
Yes, in 1997, the board voted to allow other communities to be members. So we welcome men, non-binary, the trans community, and artists of all type to be members.
What you do today is quite extraordinary, and I'm particularly interested in hearing about some of your educational opportunities for young people who are interested in careers in the fashion industry, young blooming fashion designers, and then others. And what do you do for them exactly?
Yes, well, we do have a program called the Rising Star Awards, and that is our vehicle to acknowledge new talent across the board in beauty, fashion. Fashion, we have women's apparel, men's apparel, all gender apparel. We've retail community, also lifestyle brands, fine jewelry. And what we do is we acknowledge new talent working in the industry 1 to 6 years. We have a large awards luncheon, which is a fundraiser for Fashion Group. And we work with our Rising Star community, and we provide mentorship. We connect them to our industry thought leaders. We provide a forum for them to talk about their industry. And we work with them to see how we can support them to have successful careers.
And I think that's also interesting. I happen to have attended your May 10th Rising Star Awards event in New York City, and I saw exactly what you did. And I have to say, I thought it was a very, very good luncheon. And I loved that you were promoting young talent because, like in any other industry, the newest of talent usually has a tough time getting off the ground. And by awarding these young fashion designers and other people in the fashion industry, you create a new platform and you open up a lot of opportunity. I also love that you mentor. And so my hat off to you. I'm not wearing one, but you do a great job. And I think that it's something very, very important, especially in an industry that's difficult, like most industries, to start off and get going. Now, you also do a lot with very established designers who get involved because they want to help young new talent. And how does that work exactly?
Well, I can acknowledge that some of those who have won or been finalists in the Rising Star Awards have been Jason Wu, Tory Burch, Joseph Altazora, Misha Nunu, Wes Gordon, Dylan Lauren, Birchbox, and Philip Lim. And from that community, they have stayed all in touch with Fashion Group. So besides our members who are leaders in the industry, we work with some of our past rising stars to always come back to the community. And in fact, at the luncheon, we had so many people who are from the industry there to support, who were presenters, or who would host a table. For example, Ken Downing, Nina Garcia, and others who just really were, fabulous supporters of the new talent.
Yes, I remember it was a real who's who in the fashion industry, including people like Fern Malice and many other people. Fern Malice happened to be the woman who started Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week back in the 90s. And you had many, many really great people there. And what was so nice was that everyone was connecting and also communicating with one another and creating bonds, which
Absolutely.
is so important in any industry. And now getting back to you, you're new with the Fashion Group International. And did you get involved as CEO and president because you're a fashion lover, or for what reason exactly?
Well, actually, I've been part of Fashion Group since the 90s. I was a member in Philadelphia in the 90s. I became a regional director, and all of the regions are volunteer, except for the New York headquarters, who is the mothership of sorts. We lead all of the regions and have centralized messaging and branding, especially in the cultural social space, which is new to my position as CEO. But when I moved to New York, I continued to be part of Fashion Group, and I co-chaired Career Day. And part of my professional history is that I've been a producer, and I produced events in fashion, global events. And I started to work with Margaret Hayes, who was the past president for 25 years of Fashion Group. So sadly, when she passed, the board asked me if I would take the position, which I'm very, very honored to have been invited. Fashion Group has been part of my career for a lifetime. I've made lifelong friends in Fashion Group as part of the community. One of the things that was very special about the moving into the pandemic was that because we have 26 global regions, we were able to connect in a different way. We have always had a connection and community as one of the key elements of Fashion Group. And through the pandemic, it continued because we were virtual. And we stayed very much in the space of providing resources as careers changed, as we all know. But we also had career counseling at that time, which was very, very important as people's, careers shifted and everything, as you know, everything changed for many people.
Yes, and speaking of the pandemic, how did it affect the fashion industry, and how did it affect your organization? My understanding is when people stayed home, sales of pajamas and sweatpants and sneakers and slippers, those sales all went up, but the rest of the fashion industry was hit pretty hard, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. On many levels of the apparel supply chain. Firstly, in the retail segment, of course, as you know, retail shifted drastically. Much of Fashion Group's financing comes from membership dues. It comes from sponsorship, and it comes from events. So we had to shift. We shift to solely virtual events. Our sponsorship shifted drastically because many of the retailers really had to shift their business model. Their business models changed drastically. And also in the supply chain. So really from a B2B standpoint, the supply chain stopped those who imported and manufactured around the world. And it just wasn't in apparel, it's also in the beauty industry. So much of beauty product, would be imported from around the world, whether it's product, ingredients, packaging, things like that. So for certainly a time period, everyone had to pause, look at the way they were structured. Some businesses already had an e-commerce type of business, a platform. Some did not. And everyone had to really make a sharp turn, and to adjust. And I think it was difficult for many businesses. Some did better than others.
Yes, and for our audience, we are with Maryanne Grisz. She's the president and CEO of Fashion Group International. Maryanne, for someone watching this show, maybe a young designer who wants to connect with your organization, how do they go about doing that?
Well, we have different types of memberships. We have, as an organization, we are a professional membership association. So we have just opened student membership. And as a student in a design school, or those who have an interest in fashion, beauty, illustration, marketing, merchandising, they could join. If they are not in New York City, we can assign them to the city. And we have a region in many cities around the country, and they can intern. They could come to the events. They could work at the events. As you know, interning is what you make it. You could be a sponge as a student and learn so much, and that's the beginning of the connection. When I first came on, I organized about 10 students from a college in New York, and they brought them in to be part of the social media team, the street style team, and they are members now. They're now in important careers as they've grown through, and they've kept Fashion Group close. Also, we have a junior associate membership, which are young people who are in the, the first 4 years out of college. And then we have an executive membership. So they join, become involved, start connecting. We have a digital membership directory. Immediately start looking through the directory. Who would you like to meet? Who would you like to be connected to? And we certainly have the New York headquarters. So if you're interested in being involved or being connected, we certainly can facilitate that.
And if someone wants to donate or wants to connect, what is the website?
The website, thank you for asking, is fgi.org. Everything is there as far as our resources. The foundation, there is a button for donation to our foundation, and we absolutely welcome and appreciate all donations.
Yes, and Maryanne, the Fashion Group International, you have a big event coming up in October, I think October 13th, and it's at Casa Cipriani. Casa Cipriani is a great place. And tell me and tell our audience a little bit about that event and what people that attend can expect.
Oh, well, thank you for asking. This is really the crown jewel of our red carpet events. It kicks off the fashion season. It's October 13th, and it's called the Fashion Group Night of Stars. It's in its 38th year, and we have honored, my goodness, Donatella Versace and Jennifer Lopez and Prince were the presenters. We've honored Rick Owens, Vanessa Friedman, Iris Apfel, Tommy Hilfiger. And this year, we are honoring 8 individuals who are similar to our organization across all industries. And Michael Kors is our superstar. And our fashion star is Christian Siriano, humanitarian Prabal Gurung. We have a Fashion Oracle Award to Elvis Presley, which really should be fun. Our trailblazer is Dionne Warwick. And we have a beauty award to Sharon Chutter. And our retail award is to Love Shack Fancy. So there'll be all kinds of surprises and fun. It is 600 of our top thought leaders in fashion. We already have many tables sold to top brands and leaders in the industry. So.
And what a great group you're honoring. Michael Kors, well, he's a resident here in the Hamptons, and you've just got a great group there. And It shows that your organization really counts in their mind and they love what you're doing. Now, you mentioned that there are tables available for sale. So if someone watching this show wants to attend on October 13th, can they purchase a table on the website now, or do they have to wait?
Oh, no, absolutely. Tickets and tables are available on the website at fashiongroupfgi.org. And I actually forgot to mention also in sustainability, we have a company called Firmenich, who creates amazing fragrance, and they do so much work in the sustainability area. So yes, on the website, you absolutely can purchase tickets.
And could you give that website one more time?
fgi.org.
Great. Now, I want to speak a little bit about you and your love of fashion. You're wearing a beautiful ensemble. And for so many people involved in the fashion world, well, fashion becomes a passion. I myself, I serve on a fashion board, the Couture Council, which raises money for the museum at FIT. And for me, fashion is a passion. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Fashion is creativity. And I can tell you, when we were in the pandemic and we had our round of rising stars who presented for the first time to a jury via Zoom, it was incredibly moving to hear a creator speak about their soul work, whether it's creating a product, creating a design. And there is something so moving about being in an industry of artists, and they're doing their soul work. We're all doing our soul work. And with fashion comes so much. It's supporting an industry, it's supporting creators. Our foundation supports tomorrow's mentoring young students. It's tomorrow's future. And it's very important, and I'm very passionate about it.
Yes, and people often forget about the person wearing the fashion. Well, for most people, when you get dressed up and you're wearing something you're excited to wear, well, you feel like you're wearing art. So besides supporting an industry, well, you just feel good. And I think for many of our viewers, fashion is a passion, and it's also a chance to wear art. And I think that's so very important. And it's also a chance to support either young designers or designers you just love. So it makes us feel good and not harming anybody. It's helping an industry. The fashion industry employs millions and millions of people around the world. And Maryanne, speaking about global reach, is your charity, you mentioned you have offices all over the world. Can you name some of those and tell us what's going on in these different parts of the world?
Yes, we have regions in Colombia, Mexico City. Toronto is a very, very strong region. We also are expanding to Africa, and we're going more into Central America. And we did have regions in Paris and London at one time, and we are reorganizing them. And the reason why regions may come or go, it really is sometimes has to do with how the industry changes. You know, as different industries are strong in different, even cities in the United States. So we are global, and also with our foundation, we have made donations to not just delivering good. We partnered with for a fund for the Ukraine, which has delivered, a product and financing. We also work with Project Paz, which supports Latina and Latino students in Mexico and New York to partner in art and fashion. We also have worked with Buy from a Black Woman. We work with the Marsha Johnson Foundation, which supports Black trans students and people. And, we look globally. it's the Trevor Project is also, and certainly the Evelyn Lauder Breast Health Center at Sloan Kettering. We've made donations since the 90s there, and sadly, many of our colleagues have passed from breast cancer, including Margaret Hayes, who was the past president.
Well, I love that part of your work includes broad outreach and strong work in the arena of diversity, and then in underserved regions of the world. And you're doing so much. And I love that you're helping young people move forward with careers and also serve as a major connector. And then you go out and help other groups as well, other charities, all very, very good. And we have a lot of people who are young and they're interested in getting into the fashion business. What advice do you give to them?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say get involved, find a mentor, find an organization such as Fashion Group, and volunteer. Because the more you are involved in an industry that is your goal, the more you learn. And it also helps define really what career. There's so many careers in fashion that you could apply for or study for or train for. And as the more you're involved, the more you can really define your next steps.
Yes, and so by being a volunteer, what you're saying, Maryanne, is that not only do you learn, but you also make connections in the fashion industry. And volunteering doesn't necessarily have to mean you stop working and you volunteer full time. You could volunteer a few hours every week or even a few hours every month if you're, say, in school and you're also working. Isn't that right, Maryanne?
Absolutely, absolutely. And especially as we come back to live events and live industry and people are coming back to their offices and even virtually. Anyone who can find a way to talk, really make a list of target companies. I would certainly suggest to students, make a list of 5 or 10 companies that would be your ideal company, your ideal job, and start from there and then work backwards and to see how you could connect into that association. And sometimes it's through fashion groups, sometimes it's through friends, a third party, but just find your way. And many times, sometimes they find out it's not what they'd like to do, but then it gives them more information and they're on their path.
Very important. And switching careers is not a big thing. If you find it's just not the right place for you, you try something new. And I think for anyone at any age, if you're doing something and you feel that it's not where your heart lies and it's too difficult, well, it's okay to move on and do something new. Maryanne, you are a wonderful, wonderful guest, and I love what the Fashion Group International does, not only for people who are established in the fashion industry, but for people who want to get involved in the fashion industry and who are just beginning careers. And for the audience, could you give once more the website and just again, your next upcoming event, which I think is so important to your group because it's your major fundraiser.
Thank you so much, Jean. The website for the Fashion Group International is fgi.org. Our next event is the Fashion Group Night of Stars at Casa Cipriani on October 13th. Tickets are available on our website. Thank you.
And Maryanne, we have about 2 minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
Wow. Well, Jean, first of all, thank you so much. I really was moved by what you were saying about wearing fashion, because fashion truly is part of personal expression and it's so individual and it really speaks so much about someone's creativity and appreciation for art. And you're a great example. You are a leader in the industry. And thank you so much for acknowledging Fashion Group. It's very important to me and to our community, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Maryanne, you have been a wonderful guest, and It's been so interesting to learn what the Fashion Group International does and how you create opportunity for many people who want to get into the fashion industry, either as designers or people in related industries. And so I want to thank you for that. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. Our guest, Maryanne Grisz. She is the CEO and president of Fashion Group International. I'm Jean Shafiroff, your host. I'll see you next week.